Good morning. The Chief Executive will first say a few words before he takes questions from the floor. Please limit yourselves to 2 questions. Now, can I invite the Chief Executive to speak? Good morning. Last week, I attended the Boao Forum for Asia in Hainan. And I came back and I met with the press and I said that I firmly believe that Hong Kong was on the right path. That is, we must spare no effort in developing the economy and enhance our competitiveness. I also said that to achieve these targets, we need to have a safe and stable social environment. In terms of security, next Saturday, the 14th of April, it's the National Security Day. We will be hosting a series of activities. This year, the theme is National Security, the Foundation of Stability and Prosperity. This is to help the public understand the importance of stability for prosperity. So this is the first time that we're holding the National Security Day after we return to full normalcy. Therefore, we'll be holding more physical activities. And then there will be various activities and events so Hong Kong could better understand national security, and also will create an ambience for everyone to safeguard national security. Many departments will be taking part this year. First, on the 15th of April, we will be launching an opening ceremony. I and central authorities stationed in Hong Kong will attend. We will be holding themed talks. The 3 members of the National Security Committee, that is the Chief Secretary for Administration, the Financial Secretary, and the Secretary for Justice, will be chairing different talk sessions so we could explore in depth the various issues relating to national security. Secondly, the Security Bureau and the various disciplined services will, for the first time this year, hold a Safeguarding National Security Cup tournament. This is to help enhance the awareness of national security. On the 15th of April, each of these departments, that is the discipline services, will be jointly attending the flag hoisting ceremony, and then different discipline services will be holding open days so the public could better learn about the work relating to safeguarding national security. Thirdly, I have given directions that all across the territory at all 18 districts, we should allow the public to take part in the activities of the National Security Day activities. So that's why the Home Affairs Bureau and the Home Affairs Department and the 18 district officers will be involved in holding activities so that we could better enhance public's awareness of national security. This is the first territory-wide campaign. And then fourthly, the Leisure and Cultural Services Department under the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau will be providing animated comic version to publicize the national security message, and also there will be exhibitions so people from all walks of life will come to better understand the overall concept of national security. Fifthly, national security education should start at a young age. That's why the Education Bureau will be holding workshops, and 60,000 copies of the publications on national security will be distributed to primary school students. And I urge everyone to take part in the series of activities for the National Security Day. starting from the 14th of April. We also encourage the public to better learn about the development of the country and its development policies. So I'm glad to see that for the first time yesterday, there is the first mainland study tour to the mainland for senior citizenship and social development. And they will be, learning about the history and culture of the places to visit. They also learn better about the development of the country. This will enhance their national identity, and also they could seize upon the various development opportunities as they consider their own future development. Now we have full resumption of exchanges between Hong Kong and the mainland. I see different bodies are now organizing exchange activities with various mainland counterparts. The SAR government officials and other civil service colleagues will be visiting the mainland more, especially the cities in Guangdong Province and the Greater Bay Area. We will have more frequent contact with officials in different places, and then the various Directors Bureau and Secretary of Statements will be visiting different countries to attract talents and capital to come to Hong Kong. They will work together with the business sector to promote Hong Kong and tell good stories about Hong Kong. Thank you. Now the floor is open to questions. Please raise your hand as you ask questions, and please limit yourself to 2 questions, and also please identify the organizations you represent before you speak. At the back there. Yes, I'm from RTHK. 2 questions. Now there's news that the construction sector will be importing labor to address the labor shortage, and even for the minibus trade, there will be an importation of 500 workers. So what are the detailed arrangements, and when will you be announcing the details? Now, there's some primary school that announced it's suspending classes because it doesn't have enough students, and then Education Bureau has issued letters to some schools to say that a class could have 0 students. Now, how many secondary and primary schools will actually suspend classes because of insufficient students? And what assistance and support would the government give to these schools? Thank you. Now, in the policy address, I expressed the government's concern about the manpower situation. We need to compete for talents so we could compete with other parts of the world in our development. I understand that the Construction Industry Council has made an announcement. They expect a shortage of manpower of about 10 to 12,000 workers, to 15,000 workers. And I know that different sectors have expressed concern about insufficient labor on this issue. I believe several points are important. First of all, if there is a shortage of manpower, of course it will affect services for the public as they go around, and if they need certain services and there is a shortage of manpower, they will affect them. And of course, insufficient manpower will also affect our competitiveness because we need to compete with the rest of the world. So we take this very seriously. For manpower shortage for the construction sector and the transportation sector, the relevant bureau are actively studying the relevant issue. They will be making announcements to the public soon on their overall strategy. For the construction and the public transport or transport sector, I hope they will make a decision soon. Hopefully, by the middle of the year, they'll be able to announce their overall strategy in response to the manpower shortage. As for other sectors, I understand there is also problem of manpower shortage. The different policy bureau will need to address the issue as soon as possible. But I must stress a number of points. First, we have to protect local workers. We have to protect the wages of local workers. So when we make any decision, say if we plan to import workers, then their wages must not be less than the median income for that particular sector. That's the established policy. Also, we will be stepping up training for local workers. That's why we have employees retraining schemes. We have other professional and training, and we'll be doing more there. The relevant bureau will review the situation as soon as possible and make an announcement. Now, for schools, especially primary and secondary schools, we see a drop in student numbers. The latest figures tell us that for primary schools, there will be a drop of 14% in primary student numbers, and for secondary school, we expect the drop to be about 18% for secondary school students. So when there is a drop in student numbers, we need to make sure that schools will operate accordingly. That's why for our education policy, we'll take into account the drop in the number of students. We'll also keep in communication with schools. We'll look at various ways, for example, merging of schools or reprovisioning of schools. So that there could be a smooth and orderly transition for schools to continue operation in light of the actual circumstances. Now, we've said repeatedly that the Education Bureau will be communicating with the sector. They will be making announcements later. For example, you know, how we deal with the cases of door knocking places. Thank you.
The lady at the front.
This is Hong Kong Free Press. The Hong Kong Journalists Association said last week that it had received multiple reports of journalists, including one from our outlet, being followed by unknown men. What is your response to this, and will you urge the police to press on with the investigation? My second question is, this month you will be leading lawmakers on a trip to the Greater Bay Area. What are the concrete goals of this trip, and what do you hope specifically comes out of it? Thanks.
I will not spend time to talk about individual speculation or perception, but if anybody wants to seek assistance from the police, they can do it. About visit to the GBA with legislators, this is something that I would very much like to do, particularly when we have already resumed normal travel with mainland cities. We have always been looking for opportunities to familiarize ourselves with the developments of the GBA cities, and also to appreciate how we can have more cooperation within GBA. Legislators being part of the governance team of Hong Kong as a whole, I'm very keen to go with them so that we can study together different areas of developments in the GBA so as to enhance cooperation with the different cities for the benefit of Hong Kong and for the benefit of the overall growth of GBA. We will be interested to look at many areas, but we also have to be pragmatic about how much time we can have in a visit, particularly with a large number of representatives from LegCo. We have 90 legislators now. So how we can organize the study trip so that it can be done smoothly, we have to discuss with the mainland cities to see how time-wise and how the different locations of visits can be arranged for the benefit of ourselves and for the benefit of a smooth running of the whole study trip. Obviously, technology is an area that we are interested in, development, and how we can cooperate in areas such as manufacturing, youth development, and, for example, how mainland cities tackle problems using IT, how we will be able to improve quality development, which is the main theme of the GBA. Quality development means talents development, means application of IT, means cooperation, means making use of regional cooperation as well. Hong Kong can play a part in attracting talents and also be the gateway between mainland cities and the international world. We have, of course, advantages and strengths in some areas. Mainland cities have their advantages and strengths as well. So we want to create synergy in different areas, including education, technology, or even green environment development.
時間關係咧，我哋答今日最後一位記者提問嘅。左手。
Due to time limit, we'll take the last question. Good morning. I would like to ask about importing labor as well. You mentioned that you have to consider series of conditions and the restrictions about median household income, etc. Does that mean, in general, the government supports importing labor under certain restrictions, but some associations think that it is unfair to import labor without consulting them? Do you think that you will raise this topic to Labor Advisory Board? Also, we'll see various protests in the coming weeks, including on the 1st of May. How did you comment the marches that took place over the last Sunday? Will we see a full resumption of protests or marches in the future? Thank you for the question. On tackling labor shortage, we will have to strike a balance among various factors. First, we have to protect the interests of workers. On workers' employment and salary, there are established policies, as mentioned. The imported laborers should not enjoy a salary that is lower than the median salary in the industry. That is to protect workers' interests. I understand that if the overall shortage problem is so significant that if there is not enough supply of labor domestically, then we should come up with policies to fill the vacancies for the short-term needs. As to how much labor we have to import, then we'll have the relevant governmental departments to conduct analysis. After the analysis, if we see that the manpower shortage cannot be addressed locally, even with training or even with streamlining of work procedures, or through attracting local talents, then we will have to implement measures to ensure that we have enough workers to serve the Hong Kong citizens. As to how we will implement these measures, I will let the relevant bureaus or departments to look into it in terms of how urgent these measures have to be taken. We have to look at the actual circumstances before we make a decision. I have already ordered the relevant bureaus or departments to work on this, and I've already asked them to prioritize the manufacturing and construction industries. On public events, I've mentioned about this many times. First, Commissioner of Police has the responsibility to make sure that all public events will not endanger national security or harm the rights or undermine the rights of those who are not taking part in public events, and the police force has to take a balanced approach. As I see from the past public events, they were organized in an orderly and lawful manner, while the Commissioner for Police issues letters of no objection to public events. They will take into consideration the duration of events, the risk of events, and the number of people that will take part in them. We have to understand that when the Commissioner of Police makes a decision, he has to take into consideration the circumstances in Hong Kong. In 2019, a lot of the public events held were hijacked by people, which endangered national security and undermined the interests and rights of others who took part in the events. So the commissioner will make a decision based on the actual circumstances to ensure that all the public events to be held will meet the interests of national security and will not affect the rights and interests of others who are not taking part in these events. And I'll let the commissioner to make an overall or general decision. Thank you. That's all for the briefing session today.